All right. Hey, everyone. That was the Lumineers with the songs Ophelia and then Sleep on the Floor. So let's take a deep dive at the lyrics here and see what we see. And even in just the name of the band, the Lumineers. So that's really the, you know, that's the point of this Christed path, this way that we follow. Even if we forget, this is really the only way, and it's to light up within, to recognize that we are angels or angles of light, and we're here to illuminate, here to allow the full range of the light that we carry enter into this space. So to be that conduit for that light to flow through. So the Lumineers would be those who are seeking to illuminate, the illumined ones. So the first song, Ophelia. So Ophelia is, I believe, a reference to Hamlet. So Shakespeare's Hamlet, and the character in Hamlet, Ophelia, I read that back in high school, but it's been quite some time. But just brushing back up on it, the character was one who was sort of disregarded and manipulated. It was a woman who, maybe even was deemed like crazy. And so she eventually, drowned. I think she drowned herself. And so that the symbology in using a name Ophelia, I see it as sort of the disregarded or neglected feminine side of us. And so she was desperately trying to make her point or make her case or just be heard, and yet she was consistently disregarded within the story, and then she tragically died. So to me, this represents like that feminine essence having died within us because we've neglected her for so long. We've just viewed her as crazy, or the emotion side of ourselves. We just viewed that as troublesome or a problem, and any care and compassion that's also paired with this feminine nature within us is also disregarded and neglected, which from a perspective of trying to control the world and harvest innocence and purity, you have to get rid of the mother, the divine mother, because she's the one who is guarding that innermost sanctum of that which is most precious. So of course they had to remove her in order to get to them or us, that innocence, that purity within us, externally represented in the children. So yeah, that's what, just to brush up on the name Ophelia. So then we can look at a deeper look into this lyrics here. So, when I was younger, I should have known better, and I can't feel no remorse, and you don't feel nothing back. So maybe reflecting on this loss that we've experienced. When I was younger, I should have known better, and I can't feel no remorse, and you don't feel nothing back. We've fallen into apathy. I got a new girlfriend, and then it switches. He feels like he's on top. So this could be referencing like neglecting our divine feminine, but then taking on this sort of inverted feminine, or the Babylon whore, because it switches. I got a new girlfriend, and he makes a point to say he feels like he's on top. So is that us neglecting the caring and compassionate feminine side for this inverted, appearing to be feminine, maybe externally, but really is that sort of that controlling, dominating energy, the deception. So I don't know if that's what they're referring to here, but I could see that. And I don't feel no remorse, and you can't see past my blinders. So again, calling to this willful ignorance that we've fallen into and neglecting that side of ourselves and side of this creation. So, oh, Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. Oh, Ophelia, heaven help the fool who falls in love. So you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. So again, calling back to whatever sort of set this in motion, whether it was an actual flood, and there is evidence to that being a part of it, though I don't feel like that was the only cataclysm that we've experienced. But as we kept falling and the earth continued to try and shake us awake, shake us out of our stupor, we just kept falling deeper and deeper into darkness. So you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood, since that time where we began to fall and we fell away from her. So I got a little paycheck. You got big plans and you got to move, and I don't feel nothing at all, and you can't feel nothing small. So I got a little paycheck, you got big plans, you got to move. So like the planning, maybe sort of hyper focus on the matrix and the external. And again, I don't feel nothing at all, the apathy, and you can't feel nothing small. Yeah. So just this state of not feeling, because again, the feminine is our feeling emotional sense, and we've lost her. So honey, I love you. That's all she wrote. Maybe as she fell away, to remind us that she loves us, but she can't be with us when we don't feel anything more. So maybe that's what it's saying. And you can't feel nothing small, as in she is unable to feel us if we are not feeling her, maybe. And then it repeats, oh, Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, like a drug. Ophelia. So like a drug, maybe referencing like the melatonin, or the milk spoils easily, the feminine side. So this is like a drug, because it is, but it's a natural secretion within us when we are connected with the totality of who we really are, with that feminine side. Firmly accepted and welcomed in, nurtured and cared for. Oh, Ophelia, heaven help the fool who falls in love. So heaven help us who have fallen. We've fallen in love perhaps with ourselves and this external experience, and we've forgotten the totality of it. Oh, Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. And then it repeats again. So yeah, that's what I see there with that song. Just reminiscing on the connection with the divine feminine and losing that. And then the next song, it's called Sleep on the Floor. And this one is pretty straightforward, but I just see it as it's reviewing the state of separating oneself from the matrix, from the world of illusions, from society, and sort of being prepared for what that means, which it's not all rainbows and butterflies, especially at first, as we pull away from friends and family and, people who had these preconceived notions about us. And when we start to step into the truth and realize what this society was crafted to do, we pull away from Babylon. And Babylon has its purpose. It is there as a contrasting learning mechanism to help us to know what is not God, what is not that unconditional love that we are. So it's a external distraction designed to help teach us. And so this is about pulling away from that. So pack yourself a toothbrush, dear. Pack yourself a favorite blouse. Take a withdrawal slip. Take all of your savings out. So this is, get ready, because we're not coming back. We're not coming back to this. Because if we don't leave this town, we might never make it out. I was not born to drown, baby, come on. So this process of stepping back onto the Christed path after having fallen away for so long, it's challenging. But if we really want to live, we have to. There are only two paths. There's the path of decay and death, and then there's the path of life. And of course, we change between these paths many times, and just because we've gotten back on the path of life doesn't mean that we are locked in to stay there. It's a consistent process of humbly reevaluating where we are and where we're going, and making sure that we shift back onto it if need be. But that's really the truth, the simple truth of it. There are only two paths. So forget what Father Brennan said. We were not born in sin. So stepping away from organized religion and all of that nonsense of inherent sin. Leave a note on your bed. Let your mother know you're safe. So to leave kindly and leave gracefully in that way. And by the time she wakes, we'll have driven through the state. We'll have driven through the night. So baby, come on. So driven through the state, driven through the night, maybe meditation, driven in the night, that process of going within, because this is an internal process. Of course, it manifests externally. However, it has to start within. If the sun don't shine on me today, and if the subways flood and bridges break, will you lay yourself down and dig your grave, or will you rail against your dying day? So a call for courage. So if the sun don't shine on me today, and if the subways flood and bridges break, so if all else around you is crumbling and it seems very discouraging, will you rally? So will you lay yourself down and dig your grave? Will you just give up? Or will you rail against your dying day? Will you say, no, I'm in it, no matter what happens, whatever it takes, I'm in it. So that's a call for courage right there. And when we looked outside, couldn't even see the sky. How do you pay the rent? Is it your parents? Or is it hard work, dear, holding the atmosphere? I don't want to live like that. Yeah. So when we looked outside, couldn't even see the sky, and then talks about this paying rent and, it's just drawing on the madness of society and the fact that we toil all our days for what? Just to barely scrape by. So I don't want to live like that. Again, just stepping away from that madness. So if the sun don't shine on me today, if the subways flood and the bridges break, Jesus Christ can't save me tonight. So as in the organized religion idea of a savior can't save me. And he never said that he would. That's just the religious distortion. We are the only ones that can save ourselves. He was guiding. He was illuminating the path, saying, hey, you can do this too, but he cannot save us. So put on your dress. Yes, wear something nice, because we're going towards heaven. Decide on me. Yeah, decide on us. So decide on me, the Christ. Decide on us, your union with God. And then, Illinois. So there could be more to Illinois, or it could just be part of the song that he was going towards. And then it leaves out, because if we don't leave this town, we might never make it out. So it's time to go. Let's get away from this deadly space. So again, that was the Lumineers with the two songs, Ophelia and Sleep on the Floor. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for being here today on this. What are we at? Thursday, June 26th, 2025 as some call it. And yeah, excited to jump into another Quest-i-on. So this is a show series where we are practicing engaging around topics all centered around illuminating that third eye. So to become the Lumineer, we are striving to be this Lumineer, to have that beacon of light shine within us. And that's represented through all our acts and deeds. It's not just talks. Of course, the talks are wonderful, and spaces like this are wonderful to kind of recalibrate and share and compare notes. However, the real test comes in our day-to-day interactions and how we treat others and how we treat ourselves. That's what really shows is, are you allowing that benevolent light that permeates all of creation? Are you allowing that to flow through you and imbue with all of your actions so that you become the greatest conduit of love there could be? And so that's what these shows really are all about, is just to talk about the various subjects that come up. And I love it because there's nothing that is off limits. There's nothing that is taboo or off topic. So if you have a question or you have a share or things that you want to bring to the table, all is welcome. So if you're unfamiliar with Telegram and you want to jump in, just make sure to hit that center button on your screen, and that signals to me that you'd like your mic open. I'll get your mic opened and you can jump in when there's an opportune moment. If your mic is already opened, just jump in when there's a silent moment, or you can toggle your mic on and off, and I'll do my best to see it and call on you when there is time to do that. So yeah, just I guess just some quick announcements today. So just a reminder that I am 100% donation supported to do all that I do. I appreciate all those who have been able to contribute and help out in various ways. It's very appreciated, but just want to continue reminding there. You can find all of my support links on my website, justincarpenter.org/contribute, or just click on the contribute button and you can find various links. I have a few more that I need to add to these. So if you do have other means that you'd like to help out, let me know, and I'm sure we can work with just about anything. So, thank you to all who have supported, and I get that finances are tough and tight right now. So I would never want anybody to be put into stress or harm's way to pressure anyone for that. But just an ask, if you do have extra means and you do appreciate the things that are said here or the engagement, a little bit goes a long way. So thank you for that. I am still continuing to help with Bali and the orphans in Uganda. So that is a consistent need. We have this Gifts and Go if you'd prefer to do through that, where you can donate, or you're always welcome to send through me. And I just include a note that you'd like it to go to Bali, and I will happily pay it forward in that way, pass it along. A large portion of donations that are sent to me, even without the notes, do go towards Bali and the orphans, just because, yeah, they need help. And I try and remind, I do remind Bali consistently, like, please continue asking other spaces and other places if other people can chip in other communities and other online spaces. And he says that he does, but he hasn't had much luck in finding people that are willing to help out. So yeah, we'll just continue doing the best we can with what we have. And so I just appreciate any consideration there. And yeah, and if finances are too much for you to consider, you can always share the Gifts and Go. You can share various pages or share the content that's put out there, and that just helps more people to be able to see it. And that's really all I'm concerned with. I just want to help get this message out to as many people as are willing to hear it, though the way the straight and narrow path works, it is quite narrow. So I know that the audience can be a little narrow as well. But yeah, we'll just keep on keeping on. And as the world starts to wake up and we're seeing bigger and bigger moves as far as people realizing just what we've been in and what we're moving towards, I know that the amount of people that will be engaged with these topics will be very voluminous in short order. So yeah, we're just working towards that. yeah, I think that's about it for opening announcements. And yeah, I'll just get into what I've been up to the past week or so. So last week I had the Quest-i-ons scheduled for Tuesday instead of Thursday. So thanks for the flexibility there. And the reason for that is I had the wonderful opportunity to go meet up with Jill, and she offered to buy tickets for myself and two of Darth and Joanna's oldest children, Jonathan and Sienna, to go to Mumford and Sons, which was amazing. You know, I've played their music several times on these shows, and yeah, I'm just beyond grateful for that opportunity to get to go see them. It was absolutely magical, and there was quite a intense moment in the concert as well, because they actually, and they don't do this very often, but they had to stop the show very abruptly right in the middle of the set and basically take cover, because there was tornado warning and a huge storm that passed through. So they warned everyone who was outside to go hunker down in their cars or wherever. And we were underneath the covering in the amphitheater, so we stayed put. And yeah, so there was about an hour and a half of waiting. And fortunately, they came back on, and they finished the set. It wasn't quite a full set, but they finished most of it. And but they were just so grateful that people stuck around and waited and hung out, and even came back after they announced it was safe to come back. So that was a really unique experience of just having this cacophony of thunder and lightning and rain and all sorts of things come down while we were sort of waiting. And then they came back and played a beautiful rest of the show. So yeah, their songs still just resound within me, and I was very happy to give Sienna and Jonathan that experience, because and Jill as well, very grateful for that, because they haven't really been to any concert before this. Like, there was when we went to the rally and inauguration, Kid Rock did perform at that time, which was really cool to see, but it was just a few songs, and that was like the first time they'd really ever seen anybody perform like that. But then this was like a full-on concert, you know, like a full experience. And man, I know I've shared quite a few songs of theirs, but I have not found a song of theirs that does not have some deeper meaning to it from what I see. And it's all just powerfully written to align ourselves with this Christed path, to step away from the fallen state, to reevaluate when we do fall. All of it, all layers of this hero's journey, they sing about it, and very poetically as well, if I might add. So it's not only just a profound experience musically, but it's like this spiritual elevation, you know. And that's what I was turning to Sienna and Jonathan, and because they both come from the the Jehovah's Witness cult, and they're very clear to label it that. So to ask them, like, hey, what if all church services were like this? Like, what if this was the thing that we did to come together and leave with a renewed sense of light and power within us, you know, power of goodness and love? Because it really is just such a magical feeling to do that and be in those spaces. And I used to go to lots of concerts. I've been to certainly hundreds, if not thousands of big shows in my life. And I've enjoyed every single one of them. But it has been a minute. It's been a few years since I've really been to a big one. The last one before this, I think, was seeing the Rolling Stones in Dallas in November of 21. Yeah, I think that was the biggest, the most recent one I'd seen. So it's been quite a while since I've been to a big show, but this definitely renewed my my yearning for seeing those kind of things and experiencing that, because especially now having these new eyes to see the lyrics within and realizing so many of these artists, I mean, of course, I'm not going to say that every single artist has in-depth knowledge about everything that's happening, but it is very clear to see that so many are in touch with this spiritual path and following this way and finding their own unique way to put it into words and song to help share it. So what better spell to cast than that? You know, the God spells, the good spells, the gospels. These are true gospels. You know, to be casting those good spells out on the audience. It's very invigorating. So yeah, I was talking with Sienna about that, just about how clearly I see New Earth shifting to that, to where you're going to have so many people who are going to have so much time and resources they didn't have before. And so you're going to have all of these amazing musicians that didn't even realize they were musicians because they were so bogged down with some 9 to 5 or some nonsense, finding their passion, finding their voice, finding their gifts, and learning to play, and then getting together, creating songs together. And everyone's going to have so much resources available that I don't even think people are really going to want to charge to play. You know, they'll just be inviting their friends and whomever wants to listen to these gorgeous creations that they've put together, and truly just celebrating the gift of sharing and giving in that way. You know, to have like traveling bards and minstrels and those kind of things, but also in the form of larger bands and shows and things where we just get to go enjoy. And the only problem we're going to have is knowing which ones to go to, because there's going to be so much happening all the time, just parties, but not in this self-indulgent, you know, party intoxicated atmosphere where you're trying to escape from reality, but a party where you're like celebrating the beauty and the gift of life and coming together in that way to get to sing and dance together and just have an absolute blast. So I see that so vividly. I see that so clearly. And I'm, of course, very excited for that. But yeah, those are just some thoughts that wandered through as going through that experience. And I will say that it was such a moving experience that, yeah, I realized that they were coming again on Saturday, only about 2 hours away from where we are here. So I rallied with, so Darth got to go, and then Sienna went again, and then Elena, their next youngest daughter, she came. So it was the 4 of us to go again. We found inexpensive tickets to go, and just had a great time. I had a really wonderful time. The whole way there, I was playing various songs from their set list and going over the lyrics for Darth to get to experience, and him to get to go through, and us to talk about together, you know, what they meant and what we saw within them. So yeah, that was really wonderful as well. So yeah, anyway, those are just an update on musical experiences I've had recently, which I deeply appreciate. And yeah, I'll just, I saw Alex C. raise your hand. Did you want to add anything or share something on the topic or take us any direction? Feel free. Yeah, Alex C., did you have something you wanted to share? Or maybe that was just an accident. If it was, no worries at all. Just wanted to check. All right. Well, if you did want to jump in, feel free. But I'll just keep going. So then I guess other things to talk about since we've last spoken are all of the exciting goings on in the world, seemingly. But certainly people's perceptions of what's happening have been energetically quite big, you know, big shifts in what's being presented, and the whole Iran-Israel thing, stirring up a lot of conversation and bringing a lot of things into question. And it does seem like that is starting to fade as far as like the huge energy behind it. So I don't know if that one's going to be the one that tips us off, though it still very well could be. But it is exciting to see these various elements start to come more to the forefront. There's a lot, the fact that Trump is now publicly speaking his distaste or displeasure for some of the decisions that Israel has made is massive. Like, that never would have happened before. And as Q said, we're saving Israel for last. So the fact that these conversations are happening, it just means that we're moving. We're at the end. We're in the home stretch. But I say that with reservation, in that I don't know how long that home stretch can take. Literally could pop off today, but it might also take a bit longer to culminate. And every layer that it does take to get there just means that they're working, that they have insight into saving lives through this process of getting more people on board to what's been happening, to get them to pull that feeding tube out themselves. As I've used that reference from the Matrix before, of this steady stream of bullshit that we've been fed through this feeding tube while we've been locked into the Matrix. Most of us listening here have pulled out the feeding tube ourselves to some extent, because we realized it was bullshit. And the white hats, they could have just turned off the system and pulled the feeding tubes out themselves forcefully, which we will get to that point where that's going to happen. However, when you do that too much, too fast, the risk of people not being able to survive without that attachment to the stream of bullshit is severe. So the white hats took control of the Matrix system, and instead of turning it off or forcefully pulling the feeding tubes out, they simply ramped up the stream of bullshit to the nth degree, so that we'd find that within ourselves to pull that out. And it's working. It is working, as we can all find ourselves in bits of impatience, myself very much included in that. I also am quick to come back to realizing, like, okay, well, the fact that this is happening this way means that there is definitely some progress, some forward movement in getting people to realign and pull that out, and at least to some degree have distrust in the mainstream media, the government, corporate influence, whatever. If they find some layer of distrust within that, that means they're primed and ready for the big one, which is going to be like as we've been preparing for, that big moment where everything is laid out very clearly and there's no doubts about it any longer. So the more people are prepped and primed and ready for that, the better. The more people will make it through. So that coming back to that sort of compassionate view helps me in those times of impatience, recognizing that we're truly doing this for the betterment of all, not just me. Of course, I can look at it from a selfish perspective and want this to be over and want the resources and everything that comes along with that. And it's coming, but it's not just about me. It's about us. It's about the totality of us in this whole one conscious experience that we're having. So I can certainly appreciate the decisions that are being made and the time it takes and the difficulty in making decisions and not doing things sooner, because I'm sure that same sort of selfish impatience comes into the white hats at varying degrees. And so they have to find that within themselves to say, nope, it's not time yet. There are all these factors, there are all these indicators that say it's not quite time yet. And so the more we move that direction, the more people are helped. Now, eventually we'll get to the point where we can't delay it any longer, because nothing can stop what is coming. But the more gently we approach that, the better it is for more. So yeah, grateful for all the efforts put into all of that. So yeah, I think that's about it as far as introductory stuff from me. So I will just I'll go ahead and pass it off and see if anyone here has anything they'd like to jump in with to start us off with, any topics to cover first and foremost. So I'll just give a quick pause and see if anyone wants to jump in. All right. Well, just yeah, here's a quick question, and it was one that I don't have a direct answer to myself, but I thought it'd be a good one to pose to the group. So this was from JJ, and she asked if I had any information on religious exemptions forms for high school, what should be included in the detailing there, basically to prevent the requirement for vaccinations. So she's got a homeschooler that's getting ready to take a class in a public school, and she wants to know if anyone has experience in that and what to put on those forms. And yeah, I don't have children myself, and I have not been through that process, but I do know that there are many here who do have children and possibly have been through that process. So yeah, just wanted to see if anyone wants to speak up about that. Anybody have any recommendations or things to include on the recording? So yeah, that would be the first one. Hey, Robin, you got something on that one?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, yeah, I do. I don't actually have something on vaccinations, but I do have the letter that I sent my school board in, I think it was 2021, 2022, whenever they went back, that was the religious exemption for Lennon not wearing a mask. So I could send her that because she may be able to use some of the same verbiage.
Yeah, that would be awesome if you could do that. I'm looking at her contact and I don't see, she doesn't have a username set, so I can't send her contact to you directly. But if you,
I
yeah,
could
maybe,
just send it to you and then
yeah,
maybe you could get it to her.
that would be perfect. I could totally do that.
Perfect, Justin. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Appreciate that. Yeah, anyone else got any input on that topic or insight into tips, tricks, things you've done in that area? Be appreciated. If you don't, if you're hearing the recording later or just don't want to speak up live here on the call, you can always use the JC Family group. That's at JC Family 33, and you can post anything there. And I'm sure she's a member of that space, and so I'm sure she'll see that. So yeah, thanks for the input there. All right. Well, then here is another question. So this was sort of what kind of came through in a conversation with Cheryl, and she was asking, how do we stay physically grounded as our frequency rises? Because I referred to the importance of integration, because there's a lot of talk of ascension and elevating and all of that, which is wonderful. Nothing wrong with that. However, what's often neglected is the grounding process, staying rooted in the experience. And I guess this would be a good time to, I meant to announce this at the beginning, but just for anyone who listens to Aaron Abke, he talks a lot about this, or he has spoken some about this at least. And he's actually going to come on for an interview in July. So July 18th is what we have scheduled right now. So that's a Friday. He's going to come on. We'll likely do it on YouTube and do an interview where I'll get to introduce him and his work to all you guys. And if you're not familiar, he's very much the recent podcast series that he's done is called the Jesus Way podcast, where he's basically taking the religious distortion to Jesus or Yeshua's true teachings and highlighting them and bringing us back to the simplicity of the way, which is what Yeshua taught and what all true ascended masters taught. So it's a really wonderful podcast. I share, I think I've shared most every episode on my other channel through the Eye of JC, just because every time I listen to the one, I share it immediately because it's always great stuff. And so, yeah, he's going to come on and we're going to talk about that. And when we talk about the law of one and talk about other layers within his awakening journey and stepping into that. And it's cool because we share a very similar story in that I've mentioned it before, but to remind you, in case you didn't know, I come from a line of pastors. So my father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather, and may even go deeper than that. But those are all that I'm aware of. We're all pastors. And my father doesn't really preach anymore. He hasn't done that in quite some time, maybe like 20 years or so. But anyway, just coming from that similar background, because Aaron does as well. He comes from same sort of father, grandfather, and maybe deeper, are all pastors, and sort of stepped into this in similar ways of just realizing that, maybe having issue with the way that the church presented things. I certainly felt, and I'll let him tell his story more so when we get onto it, but I certainly felt distant from the idea of God and all of that for quite some time when I started learning the truth about the Catholic Church and how that came to be and all of that. And so I went pretty agnostic, and I wouldn't say atheistic, because I wasn't like averse to the idea, but I was just like, I don't know what's going on in this space or what we're doing here. But I'm just going to enjoy myself and figure it out as I go. And naturally through that, I wound up coming back to realizing that I never had issue with God, and God never left me. I simply had issue with religious distortion and finding out that the religion was actually the opposite of what goodness is. So he's got a very similar path in that. And so it'll be fun to talk to him and go deeper into that, and talk about these various things. But one of the topics that he has talked about is this idea of altered traits versus altered states. So within and merging it back into the conversation of how do we stay grounded in this experience as we're continually rising our frequency and elevating. That's one topic that comes up a lot of times, because it seems that a lot of and even in religions, but really in this sort of like new age sort of spiritual movements, which is just another form of religion, or can be, it goes into these layers of escapism, where you're using meditation to escape reality, where you're seeking these altered states of being and feeling, going into having these like very high and blissed out experiences through meditation or plant medicine or other things. But that's the only focus, is like to have that drug hit, to have that sort of fun ride, and I go into this altered state. But then when I come back, I'm still kind of an asshole. I'm still kind of like not treating people well. I'm still very selfish, and of course it's not really like admitted, but you can see through the actions of someone who that's all they're focused on, is like, oh no, I'm just in it for the wild ride, but not really, as opposed to the altered traits conversation, which is seeking this path to better oneself and to deepen our connection with everything and everyone around. And so that's what I see as far as like maintaining that grounded perspective within this is, yes, we are drawn towards this elevated state, and it is an ascension because we're taking this energy from our lower base self and we're raising it up our spine into the head or the heaven. So going from the heel or the hell to the head and the heaven. So it is ascending. It is an upward movement. However, it's also a cycle because you're taking that elevated energy and you're bringing it back down to the lower realms. And so having that union of both the high and the low is what helps to manifest heaven on earth here physically, not have this lofty idea that heaven or you know, in other traditions, it's like moksha is this freedom that you experience, and you're there, and you know, you're curing all of your past karma and escaping samsara, which, you know, those terms are helpful, but it's not to escape this reality. It's not that this reality is some prison experience that we're here to escape from and we have to leave it and go somewhere else. But it's to recognize that we can be conduits to tether and bring in that energy from heaven, and heaven's already here. So it's not even really like bringing it from anywhere else. It's just shifting the frequency of this space to be able to receive that and embody that. So it's not escaping to somewhere else. So that's what I was sort of referring to in that conversation, was just having that grounded approach to where, yes, I'm elevating oneself, but then what am I doing with that? How am I connecting with those around me? So that's the grounding experience. So I use the analogy of a tree quite often as a wonderful representation of us, because a tree simultaneously grows its branches up high, which is the elevation, the ascension, you know, the movement upwards, reaching to the heavens, reaching to the sky. However, if that tree is not simultaneously growing its roots down deep, then it will just topple over. It's not strong. There's no depth to it. So the growing the roots down deep is the sort of, can be viewed as like the nitty gritty of the process. You know, that's the shadow work. That's getting comfortable with conversation and relationships, and how do we put these you know, these lessons to the test? How am I connecting with those around me? So as the roots grow deeper and connect into the soil, they're grounding physically into the experience. What am I doing with this physical experience all around me? If I'm always neglecting my personal relationships to say, no, I got to go meditate for 3 hours, and I don't want to deal with that because that's too low for me, you know, then what am I doing here? You know, and I'm not saying that we have to entangle ourselves with every piece of drama or whatever. Sometimes it is healthy to move away or set boundaries or whatever. But there's a fine line between that and then this escapist reality where I'm neglecting that which the divine is actually calling me to do. I'm actually being inspired to help deal with whatever issue, or to repair this relationship, or to repair this wound that's been there for forever, or to get down and dirty and do some real work, you know, the real physical work on something that might need to be done, to help somebody, to give to a charity, to donate my time, to connect in those kind of ways. Those are all very grounding experiences. Just being with animals, helping serve animals, is a very grounding experience because you're there within it. So that's all I meant was having that union between these two, so that we are the tree, and we have this perfect symbiosis. And of course it's not always perfect, and it's a give and take. Sometimes we might need to put more focus on the elevation experience and less on the physical obsession. You know, if we're solely focused on the physical, then we might become overly consumed with you know, resources and day-to-day problems and whatever. So that might be a time where we shift our focus to the fact that we are ultimately not physical. We're ultimately not this body. This is simply an experience I'm having. So those can be helpful to shift back that way. But at the same time, as I mentioned, It's all about balance. So if I'm overly focused on the sort of lofty spiritual ideas of elevating oneself, then I might be neglecting that which the divine is bringing me in my proximity, what's physically around me, who is within my sphere of influence, or who am I connected with? Am I neglecting those connections, or am I enhancing them? So yeah, that's that kind of consideration that I think is important for. It's certainly been very important for me to hold on to see when I might not be taking as much of a grounded approach in something, or I might be trying to escape dealing with something. We had a really great show. Lila and myself had on spiritual bypassing not too long ago, or maybe it was, whenever it was, maybe a little less than a year ago at this point, which if you have not heard that, I'd highly recommend it. It was a very good one, a great conversation. We had, unfortunately, a few connection issues with Lila, but I think we got the gist of what we were speaking about out there. And yeah, but that topic of just like, what is spiritual bypassing? That's exactly using the sort of lofty ideas around elevation and ascension or whatever, in order to neglect or bypass the things that are physically around me to deal with. And all of it is divine. All of it is divinely purposed and intended for us to experience in whatever way it's being brought to us for. So if I'm neglecting something or acting like, oh, I'm above that to deal with it, then we're just going to keep entering the same loops of having the divine bring it back into our experience again and again and again, until we decide, oh, okay, this is actually important. I do need to face it, and instead of just bypassing it. So that's a great show to review, just to get more on that topic. But yeah, I'll just leave that one there as far as the importance of grounding with elevation and the importance of growing both directions. So I will pause there and see if anybody wants to jump in either on that topic or take us any which direction. All right. Well, this is kind of similar. This was a question that was brought up by Carrie, I'm not sure exactly how you say his name, on the last show. And it was brought up right at the last second as we were ending. And it's a fairly big topic. So I wanted to bring it up again so that we can go into it more. But his question was, I mentioned Kundalini, and he asked what that was. And so I thought now would be a good time to go deeper into it and yeah, just see what comes up. So the Kundalini it literally means, and I looked this up. So let's see, it means coiled potential, basically. It's like, I think Kunda means coiled and Lini is snake. So it's a coiled snake, and that snake represents the energy within us. It's this, it's often viewed as like a feminine energy, this feminine potential. And really, it's broken into the Ida and the Pingala, which represent both the feminine and masculine energies within us. But the feminine always leads. She's always the one who starts, because she is that sexual energy, and it does represent our sexual energy. It's this whole creation is the sacred sex. It is that friction of the seemingly perpetually moving motion coming up against the stillness and firmness of observation. And so the friction between these two is the sacred sex, and that's where all of creation comes from. It's the toroidal field to that movement, that apple, that's always that apple of energy, the vortex, moving up against the plane of inertia, that finite point. And it's not even really a point, but for concept wise, it is. And so that's represented also as the sacred sex, the point between. So Kundalini is this, it's just a word to sort of demonstrate that energy rising within us. And so it depends on what practice or whom you're listening to, as far as the word, the terminology used behind all of that. But it is much more of like a, let's see. Yeah, I see Darth said he could jump in. Maybe go ahead and then I can finish off. So go ahead, brother.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, let me just pull over in a safe spot, about 50 feet from a Tractor Supply parking lot. So, all right, so to understand the Kundalini, it's important to understand that it's part of a greater energetic system that encompasses the physical construct of reality in relation to the spiritual or mental aspect of reality. So there's a down from the absolute source or absolute consciousness. That's the highest thing of all. That's us in the absolute sense. And what happens is that from that absolute self, there's a downward materialistic force that creates the physical construct. And then when that force, when it goes down, it has very specific attributes. It's very linear, straight. It's very quantifiable. It's very easy to count up. Count it in discrete units. But then you have we're in the physical construct, and our minds have to interact with that physical construct. I mean, how is it even that our minds are capable of even perceiving the physical construct? How are we even capable of interacting with it? And that's where the chakras, where the Kundalini energy comes into play. Because the Kundalini energy is the counterpoint to the downward masculine material force. The Kundalini is the rising, it's the ascending feminine spiritual force. And it's the Kundalini energy that takes the material objects and organizes them into living things. Without the Kundalini energy, we would be in a universe, the material universe would be there, but nothing in it would be alive. You'd have no grass, no trees, no animals, no insects. And the mind wouldn't even be able to perceive or interact with the physical construct. And so that's what our chakras do for us. They allow that rising feminine spiritual energy, it enters into the bottom chakra and it goes out the top one. And then there's also a counter energy that goes in the top one and goes out the bottom one. So all around us is this spiritual energy. It's beyond us, it's above us, it's before us, after us, it's around us, it's through us, it's in us, and it is us. And it is the Kundalini energy that takes the physical essence of our bodies and allows us to interact with our physical bodies. Without that Kundalini energy, you might have a physical body, but your mind wouldn't be attached to it. So there's 7 different chakras, and that's 7 different ways that your mind can interact with the physical construct. It's 7 different ways that your mind interacts with your physical body. And each chakra is roughly associated with specific layers of energy in the body and specific organs and specific functionalities. And together, they make up a perfectly, wonderfully, beautifully balanced system. So they have names in other languages, but like in English, as far as like functionality, you have a heaven chakra that's in the crown, the very top. You have an earth chakra that's at the very bottom by your tailbone, and that's like your positive and negative terminals, right? And then you have then you're going to have you have some more chakras. So you have your heart chakra that's like love. Okay, you have your Anja chakra, that's your sight, that's like wisdom, your ability to see. You have a solar chakra that's around your stomach, that's like a power chakra that allows you to store mental energy, allows you to convert spiritual energy. You have another chakra around your genitals, and that's specifically related to like converting one energy for another, especially like sexual energy. And then you have a chakra around your throat, and that's the concept of justice and the ability to articulate and speak and express and order things. And then besides the main 7 chakras, there's dozens of other chakras all over the body doing very specific functions. Like there's chakras in the palms of your hands that are associated with manipulating objects and especially with healing. The palm chakras in your hands are utilized during like Reiki for that sort of spiritual healing or sending intentionality over long distances. So that's what really the chakras are all about. They're constructs in the rising feminine spiritual force, and they help us to interact with the physical force and interact with physical things and allow us to move our bodies and heal our organs. And now it's also important to realize that the chakra system comes from another culture. And it's a very specific system, and there are other parallel systems that talk about the same thing. But whatever system you're talking about, at the end of the day, there's just God, and there isn't anything else to talk about. And no one system can encompass the totality that comes up with the perfect and beautiful and absolute God. So they're all different ways of looking at the singular thing. However, while the chakra system, that way of intellectualizing and thinking about the system, while it's not absolutely perfect, it's highly accurate and highly useful, and it's a much better system than many of the other systems that are out there.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was very well said. And yeah, so it's just one way to describe this process, which is, as he mentioned, the life force, the animus within us is we're alive, so we have it within us. So everything that is alive has Kundalini energy, if you want to describe it as that, or life force energy or whatever, moving through it in order to animate it. So we're never without the Kundalini, but there are ways to sort of activate it further and to sort of channel more of that sexual life force energy within us. And so that's where, you can see practices like Kundalini yoga and various other methods that are helpful of bringing forth more of that energy within us. And it's not really bringing more energy. It's just allowing more of us to be, because we are all of that. We just have these, for a specific reason, we have these sort of limiters on our system so that we're not overwhelmed by the totality of that life force at any given point. And the chakras actually act as somewhat of a limiter in that sense, in that they're barriers to not to be broken, but to be moved through. And as we elevate ourselves, as we move and step into a greater potential, then these limiters start to open and more of that energy can consistently flow through us. But it is something that has to be done with care, especially when you're using specific methods or means to awaken that energy within. there is risk involved, because if we're not quite ready to handle that amount of energy to flow through us, it can be detrimental. So they actually warn of people doing too much with Kundalini awakening practices, especially without the training or guidance of someone who is more experienced, because someone can become burnt out from doing that, and you can experience a wide array of symptoms after the fact. But you know, it can be quite detrimental to where someone can become quite schizophrenic or just discombobulated from having that energy flow through them when they're not quite ready. And the same thing happens with plant medicine. You know, plant medicine is a powerful activator. It's here for a purpose of bringing us awareness of the unseen, the immaterial, the non-physical, the energy that permeates through everything. And they're very effective at that. And if someone is not quite ready to go through the depth of a plant medicine journey, this can burn themselves out through that. So it's something that we have to just take caution, and it's not the same for everyone, because we're all at different layers within this experience. And so we have to, it's important to just approach it all with care, you know, with care, carefully, just full of care of what we're doing and how we're moving through things. And so, yeah, that's what I quickly gave in the response to Kari last show, just how this is also represented by the fact that, you know, in the story, Jesus, quote unquote, died at 33 years of age, which he may or may not have at that time, but the story is supposed to represent the 33 vertebrae in our spine, which is that pathway that this energy has to ascend, it has to climb up before it, quote unquote, dies. And Golgotha, the skull, which is where he was crucified, and that's representing the ending point in the head. But it's not to end there, it's to spill over and to come back, to rekindle and to move into the lower realm, so that you're bringing that heavenly frequency back down below again, and then you're rising it back up, and it just becomes this perpetual process. That's why the toroidal field is not just one, it's not just one way. It's going in and expanding out through the top, and then spreading out. So we spread this life force energy out. We spread this Christ as big and as wide as we can, and then it comes back up through the ground, through the center, and we channel it back up again. And the more comfortable we become with this process, and we're doing it naturally, it's not something that we can ever escape from, because we are alive. So if you're living and breathing, you're doing this. But it's just, how can I expand in that? How can I channel more of this divine energy into and through my vessel, moving through my unique characteristics to spread this loving energy out in only the ways that I'm capable of, because these are the characteristics that I've chosen. And so then it becomes this, I've used the analogy for a symphony. We've all got our own instruments, and that's our unique characteristics. Our instrument is very different. In even instruments that may sound very similar, they're made differently, and they have a slight variation, and may be able to hit certain notes in different ways, or hold a certain pitch or whatever. So to recognize our unique instrument, to know thyself, and then learn to play it, is this activating of the Kundalini, activating of that life force energy within. And so the better that we can have that music, the vibrations flow through our instrument, and then we're emitting that frequency out as we're playing the song. And if we're harmonizing, my instrument's not going to sound the same as everyone else's, but I can harmonize to that one tune, that universe, that one song, that one tune that's flowing through all of creation, so that the song becomes harmoniously beautiful all around. And that loving energy is not only emitting from my instrument, but it's adding to the instruments of everyone around who is playing the same song, the one song. And it just becomes bigger and better and more beautiful every which way, and there's no limit to it. There's no end to it. There's no, we simply choose the amount of song that enters into the space. And so if we don't know our instrument and we're playing a bunch of discordant tunes and we're full of fear, and then we manifest a very hellish experience with a really shitty song. Or it's not even really, the song's not shitty, we just don't know how to play it, so it sounds really bad. But then through that awakening, through this returning to our true self, we're learning to play those instruments again, and we're learning to play the song where we can hear it better, we can attune to that. And yeah, that's the name of the game. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, great question. And thanks again, Darth, for adding on the Kundalini. And that's the gist of it.
Can I add something more?
Please.
So the bottommost chakra, that's by your tailbone, that's the I am chakra, and that is the root of your existence. You are, other things are, and you exist. And that's actually the lowest frequency, the most sublime of the energy chakras in your body. And from there, the energy starts to unfold, and it switches to the next chakra, which is by your genitals. And that is the I will, or I have will. And that's the name of that next chakra, I will. Or that's your next name, because each chakra is who you are. And the 7 names are your 7 names. They're your 7 chakras. And they're your 7 ways that you relate to reality. So you first start off with I am, and that's the root, or the earth chakra. The next one is your genitals, or your sex chakra, and that's I will. So because you are, now you're able to have will. You have desires. You have things that you are attracted to, or repulsed by, or things you don't care about. And then because you now have will, you're then able to move to the next chakra, which is right around the diaphragm or the stomach, the power chakra. And that's the I do. So because you are, you have will. And then because you have will, now you're going to act. Okay, so there are things that you are attracted to, things you're repulsed by. And because you have will and because you have power, now you're able to push things away from you, or pull things toward you, or move yourself toward or away or around, and curve around things that you've decided. But you're only able to make those decisions because you will. So first you are, then you will, and then you do. The next chakra is the heart chakra, or the love chakra. And that's I feel. That's the next name. So I am, I will, I do, and then I feel. That's the heart chakra. And this is the center of your chakra system. And because you've taken action, now you feel a certain way about the action that you have taken. You feel a certain way about the actions that things have taken around you. And this heart chakra is really what builds your worldview. It determines how you relate to the world. Are you afraid of the world? Do you love the world? Do you hate the world? Are you unified with it? Are you in opposition to it? And that all relates to your heart chakra and how healthy it is. And if the heart chakra is healthy, then that will balance out all your other chakras. So you always want to make sure that you have a very strong heart chakra, because then that'll make sure that all the other chakras are behaving properly. So the next chakra is the throat chakra, and that's the I speak. So I am, I will, I do, I feel, and then I speak. And you can only really speak because you feel something, and that's what speaking is. It's the expressions of your emotions. And so now you're speaking to the world, You're speaking to yourself. You're speaking to others in the world. And what is it that you're speaking? You're speaking the emotions that you feel, how you feel about things. And this is where then the world really starts to form around you. And it really starts to become concrete because you're now speaking. And speech is what creates the world and what locks things down. And that then allows the next chakra to unfold, which is the I see. Because speaking creates the world is created, and now you can see it. And once you see the world, then finally you can get to the last, seventh chakra, which is I know. And you know it because you see it. So I am, I will, I do, I feel, I speak, I see, and I know. And the chakras also run in reverse. So you know what you see what you speak what you feel what you do what you are, or you do what you will, and you will what you are. And so the seven systems all work together to create the world all around us and our relationship to it. And so a lot of times when someone's having problems with the world, whether it's poverty, I've had to work on that, or whether it's anger, you're at war with the world and the world's at war with you, it's usually representative of some, I've had that problem too, but it's usually an issue of a problem with our chakra system. And that's usually having to do with the heart condition, the heart chakra. And once you fix that, then that will fix all the others. And then your chakras will fix the world around you. So that's why it's important to understand how our chakras function. Because if you're just trying to manipulate the world with your hands and your feet and your money, but you're neglecting the way that your chakras are interacting with the world, then your own energy will defeat what it is that you're trying to move forward, what you're trying to accomplish. And this is why the scriptures say that if I am is not watching the town, there's no point in trying to defend it. If I am, which is your root chakra, if that's not building the house, there's no point in trying to build the house, because the I am will tear it right down. So your chakras are out there. It's your energy, your personal energy is out there working with the world and manipulating it. And it's important that we want to work with our chakras and not against them.
That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. And yeah, it just brought up the significance of Christ being the green or the heart, because he stands at the center. So the Christ stands at the center, looking both up and down at where is the pathway unclean? Where can I strengthen that connection and allow these chakras, the super highway, to become, to flow easily? But as you mentioned about the root, that's where Christ talks about building your house on the solid rock instead of the sand. If our foundation is built anywhere else besides the I am, then it's just going to topple over. It's not, there's no solidity there. If our roots are not growing deep into that, then we'll just topple over. It doesn't matter how high we reach. So thank you for that. And then, yeah, the seven churches, the seven seals, as described in Revelation, are representing these seven chakras as well. And it's the seven seals because we have to learn to navigate through the seals. We have to open them in order to have the fullest power potential within ourselves, which is, that's what the Christ does. So thank you for that explanation. And I saw Sarah M had something to share. Go ahead.
Can you hear me all right, Justin?
Yeah, I'm clear. Hey, sister.
Awesome. Well, that was just beautiful there, what Darth offered, and also everything that you've been offering so far today. Yeah, just with regards to the heart chakra, and oftentimes you hear the expression "follow your heart," but if you are coming from a wounded place or unclean heart space, it's actually not really a good idea to follow your heart. The work is in knowing yourself well enough to know that you're coming from a wounded place and that needs care and cleaning and purification. And yeah, anyways, it's interesting, just that whole thing about when you, yeah, just when it doesn't mean you don't act, but it's be careful how you follow your heart, you know. Anyway, I just want to share that. But earlier, there's so many things I could comment on, but you were speaking about the idea of we are all, like, we're creating this symphony, and we're each a unique instrument. And I've done a lot of work with dance and music. And at one point in time, I was asked to lead a dance workshop with a klezmer band. And I had never, you know, I didn't know really anything about klezmer dance, but this, who was hiring me, trusted me to be able to just work with this group. And the musicians, one of the musicians was speaking with me, and he said, you know, with regards to klezmer, it's not klezmer music or klezmer dance. It's klezmer is everything, dance and music. And considering our temples, our body is one instrument that you use to make music and dance with. And so they had no division. And I just love that explanation of klezmer. And I love the klezmer music and dance. Is very, very beautiful and uplifting and joining. And earlier you were speaking about being from a line of pastors. And in my family also, I grew up with the Scottish Presbyterian religion, church, and it was extremely fundamental and basic, to the point of, you know, there was no candles allowed in the church. There was only the voice was allowed. Any kind of musical instrument was considered pagan. So it was a very, very basic, church. And so in that upbringing, there was a real division of, like, the chakras. Like, it was okay to be up in the top, but not in the bottom. And there was this, like, kind of underlying feeling, like basically it was creating sexual guilt, unbeknownst to them, but just this whole division of considering your lower chakras as evil and as things that are going to lead you astray and going to take you into the darkness. So a big part of my path was, because none of that made sense to me. And when I just followed my spirit, I was drawn more and more to dance and movement of my body, and like holy dance and sacred dance. And at one point in time, I lived in Dundas, Ontario, and I noticed these notices for these sacred circle dances in Hamilton in this round church. And I kept noticing these notices and being really drawn. And then, but there were parts of me that just felt, oh, I can't really go there because that's evil, that's satanic, that's pagan. Anyways, finally I showed up, and it turned out to be the most beautiful thing. All of the dances were taught in circle, and some of the dances were very, very ancient dances, Celtic dances. Some of them were modern choreography, but basically everything was done in a circle, and it was done, the steps very simple so that you can get lost in a meditative state. When I say lost or found, maybe found. And this particular group they were all taking turns each day. There'd be several leaders. There was like no one leader. There was people were taking responsibility to learn the different dances and teach them. And so, yeah, I just was so enjoying this this experience, and I ended up becoming like a facilitator, learning how to facilitate these dances and learning more of the history of the dances and such, because some had ancient history connected to them. And anyway, a lot of the experiences for people when they do these dances is, even when you think about centrifugal force, centrifuge, when you're moving in a circle and it's like all the crap just kind of gets spun off, and it does end up creating almost its own chakra, this sacred circle. And so you are actually moving as one. It can almost bring tears to my eyes right now, like the beauty that happens in these circles where people do draw closer to each other, the God in each other, the divinity in each other. And sometimes when I've been in these circles, like I've had people after come up and say, you know, I didn't even realize that I had this judgment of this other person, or didn't really like them, or just thought they were weird or stupid or whatever. But until they danced in a circle with them and then felt a oneness. And that's what kind of hit them over the head. Like, hey, I've actually been pretty divisive or pretty feeling separate above this other person or whatever. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. And yeah, at one point in time when I was doing healing work with people, I had this vision of figure 8. Like, I'm really fascinated by the infinity symbol, and oftentimes I'll just find myself with my arms doing the infinity symbol. And sometimes, like when I'm working with kids, like just doing the infinity symbol with your hands joined, but then also if you can create the infinity symbol. Since I don't have a visual here, I'll try to describe it, but your hands are going in opposite direction and then crossing in the center. And it's a very, very beautiful pattern. You can almost, it's a meditation to actually just do that. Or if somebody is doing that in front of you, for you to just witness that it's a very beautiful movement. But anyways, at one point in time, I had this vision of like this infinity symbol and the heart, like, okay, so the top of the infinity symbol is moving through the heart chakra, then it goes through the third chakra, like the will power one, then down through your sex and your root, and coming up, and then crossing again through the will, and then through the heart. Anyways, it seemed to be by inviting some people who were very stuck in their lower chakras, like stuck in problems with sexual addiction and well, lust, pornography, these kind of things. Having that vision or helping to people to envision that seemed to be very, very healing. And it's funny, I'd forgotten about this for a long time, and it just has risen up in my consciousness just through this conversation. But I just wanted to share that whole thing about the infinity sign. And yeah, and just one more thing too. At one point in time, my path led me to Sedona, Arizona. And at one point I was all on this path about the priestess path and tantra and sacred sexuality and all that. And I have to say, what was going on at that time, that would be in 2010-ish. So there was a dark and the light happening there in Sedona. And I don't know what's going on there now, but anyway, these gatherings were drawing a lot of sexual predators, actually. That was part. And then the other part were people who were truly doing the work. And, you know, one of the men who was in an incredible integrity, his name is Michael Meerdad. He actually leads a church in Sedona now. So if anyone has a chance to go and hear him, well, you can see his stuff on YouTube as well. But there's a man of integrity. He showed up and spoke at one of the gatherings and totally rattled the people who were there in a predatorial nature. And I will just say, for myself, I was pretty naive at that point in time, but I would say that some of the people like Michael Meerdad, he was carrying such an armor of God that God extended to create safety for some of the naive people like myself at the time. And I'm very thankful for his work and for who he is and was. And anyway, I've shared a lot, and thank you everyone for listening. And I haven't been able to be part of the shows for a while because I've been visiting my father in Ontario and just have been completely off the internet for quite some time. So thank you very much, Justin, for all your work and for everyone who's part of these adventures.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, we missed you, and always so grateful to hear from you and hear your wisdom and shares. And yeah, that was a lot of great stuff to unpack. So one thing I wanted to was just how you started with the caution around following your heart if we're ungrounded. You know, if that I am is not rooted and secure, and our foundation is not stable, then, you know, on the line of our chakras and our heart being typically where we can follow guidance from, that can be manipulated. It can be inverted or distorted, which is part of what society does, is designed to keep us always knocked off our feet, you know, where we're maybe grounding into false realities. We're building our I am on something that is not real, not solid. It's based on some identity or some expert or some politician, some thought leader in some way, and then we are very ungrounded. And then following our heart is it's not rooted in where we truly are. It's rooted in perhaps somebody else's somebody else's notion about how we should be. But it is important that we establish that sense of sovereignty and really declare ourselves as we are, and not based on some system or something else. So that was a great point to bring up. And then in regards to dance and music and just adding that to the vision of us having these opportunities to all sing and dance together and do that very thing, as you mentioned, of where we can break down these barriers and walls that we've built, and much of it to protect ourselves. So it hasn't been a bad thing necessarily to build these barriers and have layers of protection. But those layers of protection also act as a cage to keep ourselves in, and we keep ourselves isolated and disconnected. So to have opportunities like song and dance to break those down and realize that we all just want to have fun. You know, this is a fun experience to have. And when we take away the threats and the danger, then and introduce music and dance, then we just see how quickly those barriers dissolve and melt away. So that is a wonderful vision to add. And And then, yeah, your share around, the man who gave that talk and really, shone a light on the darkness that was growing in that space. And that's all it really takes, and that's the role of that divine masculine energy within each of us, but especially in men, to have that impetus to speak up when there is darkness festering, when there is that predatory nature growing in whatever way and however it shows up. That's our role, to step up and say, no more. It's not going to happen in this space. And even just declaring that, it gives much less room for that darkness to operate, because it does need the shadow. And as soon as you shine the light on it, it has no room to work any longer. So grateful for the share in that. And yeah, and the more that we readily do that, then the darkness doesn't have time to regroup and grow in strength. So it's just momentary little things, tweaks here and there. It doesn't have to be some monumental great awakening effort like we're seeing now, but that's what it took. What we're facing now is it required this much to happen. And it's massive. It's potentially the biggest shift in all of consciousness that we're going through. But it doesn't have to be that way. If we maintain that readiness, that vigilance, if all of us, men and women, have that divine masculine inspiration to call out and point out when something is wrong, when something is not right, so that the innermost, most precious part of us, the purity, can be protected and cared for by our inner feminine. If both of those are acting in alignment, then darkness has nowhere to grow in strength, and it doesn't have to get to this point. So that's what I'm going to be putting my energy towards for now and forever, is ensuring that we remember, or that I remember, and sharing as much as I can to help others, so that we remember, we don't forget this, and keep moving forward in that way. So yeah, again, thanks Sarah for the shares, and thanks again, Darth, for adding to this. It's been a great conversation, and I will just pass it back and see if anybody else wants to jump in, either on this topic, any topics we've covered, or take us any which direction. All right. Well, that is actually the end of my written questions today. So yeah, we can certainly start winding down and wrapping up for today, but just wanted to give another opportunity if anybody has anything they want to jump in with. And this could be anything from a question that you have to a share, an experience, a revelation you've gone through, or a challenge that you're facing. Anything is certainly welcome, as it's all connected. So I will just pass it off again and see if somebody wants to jump in. Hey, Paula, good to see you here. Go ahead, sister.
Hi, Justin. I just wanted to say hi and let you know I just lucked in on this call. I was just sitting out in my yard enjoying a peace and quiet a moment before a full house of guests arrives tonight, and I was recapping how wonderful it was, all the unique things that have happened throughout the month. And you were on the page when I remembered, hey, I better see if the chat is on. So just wanted to say hi from Wyoming.
Oh, thanks, Paula. I'm so glad that you did. It just puts a big smile on my face. Yeah, there's I just to remind everyone, I had the joy of stopping by Paula and Patrick's little inn that they have in Story, Wyoming, and got to stop by and see them. And on our way out west with Matt, when I went out with him, and it was just such a lovely time. They're just such wonderful people, and yeah, I'm grateful to see you here. again as well, and just appreciate you and all that you're doing. So thanks for stopping by, and thanks for saying hi.
Yeah. And I love I will go back and listen some more, but I um, came right in on Darth's explanation of the chakras, and I love that.
Yeah, he does a great job breaking that down. I mean, we could spend, maybe we'll do a show series on that sometime and go over each one in more depth. It could certainly be helpful to cover, but yeah, I'd agree with you there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, is there anyone else who wants to jump in before we start wrapping up? All right. Well, feel free to interrupt me if you do find the inspiration to. But since we've got some extra time, we'll go over the lyrics of the 2 songs I'm going to play us out with. So also by the Lumineers, the songs we're going to play, if you're familiar with their music, or even if you're not, you might recognize these songs. These are pretty popular songs of theirs. But excuse me, the first one's called Stubborn Love. So she'll lie and steal and cheat and beg you from her knees. Make you think she means it this time. She'll tear a hole in you, the one you can't repair. But I still love her. I don't really care. So I see this as like, you know, we love her, as in love itself, and we love, you know, it's the loving movement is feminine nature, and she possesses both the wildness. It's like the moon, right? The moon has its potential energy. It has its 2 faces. So it has the both the light and the dark side. And so this is just sort of examining the darker elements of her, but I still love her. I don't really care. So when we were young, we did enough. When it got cold, we bundled up. I can't be told, it can't be done. So this insatiable life desire that we have within us, I can't be told, it can't be done. We will not be told no. We will not be controlled. We will not be stopped. It's better to feel pain than nothing at all. The opposite of love's indifference. So even though pain is a part of the experience, this is a call to not fall into apathy. You know, to recognize the pain has a purpose. It's very meaningful within this, and it allows the full spectrum of the experience, all the textures, every bit of it. So it's better to feel pain than nothing at all. So pay attention now. I'm standing on your porch screaming out, and I won't leave until you come downstairs. So this could be a call to friends to step out of the society, to come play this game for real. Stop playing someone else's false construct. Or it could be calling out to the divine, you know, in that state of readiness and openness. I'm standing on your porch screaming out. I've got my arms open wide, and I won't leave until you come downstairs, till we have that connection. So keep your head up, keep your love, keep your head up, my love. So despite all the troubles and challenges, keep your head up, my love. And I don't blame you, dear, for running like you did all these years. I would do the same, you'd best believe. And the highway signs say we're close, but I don't read those things anymore. I never trusted my own eyes. So I don't blame you for running like you did all these years in this sort of fallen state that we found ourselves with society in the ways that it is. I would do the same, you'd best believe, to run away from that. And then the highway, so the highway being the high way, the way, the highway signs say we're closed, but I don't read those things anymore. As in, we're not relying on external validation or external signs to point us in that direction. It's an internal process. I never trusted my own eyes. So the physical senses, to step away from that being our guide, and the internal sense is our guide. When we were young, we did enough. When it got cold, we bundled up. I can't be told, it can't be done. So keep your head up, keep your love, keep your head up, my love. Head up, love. Yeah, and that's that song, Stubborn Love. And then, oh, hey, Tracy. Go ahead, you want to jump in? Hey, Tracy, sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, hey, yeah. I put it up before you started, but I was down there at the bottom, so you didn't see me. Anyways, yeah, thanks. If it's okay to speak. Thank you. So I guess a couple things. So an update of a situation that happened here to me. And I spoke about it to a few people since I've moved to a new location and trying to learn getting my bearings and stuff like that. And I'd expressed that I travel around, I don't have a car, so I have a bicycle. And it's quite hilly here, as is most islands. It's not a flat island. I was living on Hong Kong Island, and it's quite hilly there too. But here is as well. And but it's very typical here of there's very small roads and very small sidewalks. And unfortunately, the sidewalks are pretty crazy, the design or whatever. And very, with being a rainy coastal area, it gets, can get quite mossy and slick and when it gets wet and stuff like that when it's rainy. So I've been quite, even a bit anxious actually, because I'm quite accident prone. So I know myself. So not anxiety per se, but just a bit anxious about, especially being in a new place when you're traveling down little paths or whatever it is, and you're trying to maneuver yourself when there's no ability to be on the road, and having a safe lane of any kind, or even on a sidewalk. So you're trying to traverse a new area, and just little small things can cause me, maybe not everybody, but some certain rock or a drop in the pavement, like a hole. I've had a really bad accident because city works were being done around a bush on a sidewalk with no nothing, no warning, no barrier, nothing. Just an open hole in the sidewalk right next to a busy road, with a drain sticking out the middle of it in this hole. It's about probably a good foot and a half down. You dug and just left it with no barrier, no warning around it. And I had I was literally not even 30 seconds from my house down the street when this happened. And I come around the corner and I come upon this hole, and I have nowhere to go because the road is right there. I'm going to hit oncoming traffic, and there's bushes to the other side. And it's coming upon me so quickly that all I do is I'm just braced for impact. So I end up my front tire ends up hitting the drain that's sticking out of the ground. And I know I'm going to go over regardless, whatever I'm going to be, so I'm going into the hole head first, or, front of the bike first anyway. So the bike sort of hits that and goes straight up in the air, and kind of slowly as I'm sort of going over, but I am completely upside down. It's still kind of on the handlebars, but I have to push myself off the bike. And luckily I was in good enough shape at the time, and I literally did a Mission Impossible move, like literally right out of the movies, I swear to God. And I held my whole body up, in like a handstand maneuver, if you will, as the bike is kind of getting wrapped around me, and I'm falling to the ground, but I'm able to catch myself about a centimeter from the pavement with like both my hands, and my face comes down like literally centimeter from the pavement, and I'm able to stop. And I did not smash my face into the pavement, but my right shoulder took the brunt of it, and has been fucked up ever since. But I've gone through various stages of healing, re-injuring that I've lost count. Anyway, this, and then I finally hit the ground, and my bike's tangled around me, and this van stops in front of me, right on the road there, stops, goes, oh my God, are you okay? You okay? Do you need some help? And I pick myself up. My glasses fell off. So I picked my glasses up off the ground. I put them on. I grabbed my bike. I'm like, no, I'm fine, but thank you. So kind of you to stop and ask. Like, I don't know how I kept composure. And I was right in front of the American Club, a private club that I was actually going to have a sauna and stuff like that. And so I headed off to do that. And my shoulder was completely screwed. But I had the fact that I did not completely smash my face and break my neck in this crash. It was absolute a miracle. But also, like I said, I was in really good shape at the time. And so my sort of gymnast abilities kicked in that moment. And this happened like when I was 50 years old. So I'm pretty proud that I was able to not, like, I would have smashed my face so badly. The injuries to my face and jaw, teeth would have been horrific. So anyways, that kind of a situation where you come upon something, and you do everything you can to, be aware of. And luckily I wasn't going any faster. So it could have been so much worse. I could not avoid this. Well, here I am here in this new place, and I'm feeling this being anxious about trying to get around and not have another accident, even if it's a small one, even if you're going really slow and you're stopping, you get your foot caught or something, you're trying to get over the pedal, and you could fall just standing still, which is pretty hard to do when you're falling straight onto pavement. Very hard on wrists and shoulders and whatnot, and however you fall, if you can catch that fall. So, and knees, which I'd explained last year, fell 4 times on the same knee. Would start to heal it again, and then I have another fall. So they weren't all on my bike, but anyways, a lot having to do with the really bad sort of unkept, like potholes, road conditions, roadworks, of things that I could have been avoided had there been, barriers and, some warnings set up. Anyway, so excuse me. So I'm riding the other day, and I've just left the house, and I'm saying literally out loud, oh my God, I've got to be so careful. I don't want to get in an accident. And not even like 15 seconds later, I get run right into by a taxi. And I wasn't going very fast. So the situation was that the guy was sitting stopped at a T intersection, waiting to make a left-hand turn from a right-hand lane, as he's going to turn into the little highway of 2 lanes, which move pretty quickly. And so, which I'm traveling right alongside. So the sidewalk is in very poor condition in many places. Like I said, if it's raining, it's really slippery. So any sort of sudden wrong move, and I'm falling into oncoming traffic. So it's quite a concern. There's no other route. There is no other route to get to where I'm going. So if there's options, I would take side streets or whatever, something safer. Anyway, so I've just come off the corner. I see him stopped. He's stopped. He's waiting for his turn. So I'm thinking, okay. I start to proceed off the edge of the corner slowly, and I'm just starting to go, and he just guns it. But he's looking to his right at the traffic that he's turning into, the lane he's turning into, so he can go merge into that. And he doesn't even look over, because he doesn't look in the direction he's turning. He's looking at the direction where the traffic is coming from. So he looks for his open space moment, right? So doesn't even see me, just guns it and drives straight fucking into me knocks me flying, knocks me into what would have been oncoming traffic, but there's, because it was his turn to, the opportunity he was taking, there was no traffic that could hit me as I'm laying in the road. And I'm shouting. I could see it happening. It was like happening in kind of slow motion. Like he wasn't, like a fast moving vehicle. So it wasn't as it wasn't that bad, but still pretty jarring. And then, he kept moving because he wasn't even looking. He literally was still looking to make sure that traffic wasn't coming to hit him from behind. So he still wasn't even looking as he's hitting me. Like, he was so in shock that I'm now underneath the front of his car. So is my bike, all tangled up and underneath the front of the taxi. And I'm kind of stuck in the ground. And this guy comes over in a motorcycle, tries to help me up. And I'm a bit stunned, like I still can't move. I'm kind of trying to assess, what's going on? Am I injured? And I start to get pissed off because I'm like, what the fuck? Because I started to shout at him, like, stop. And I'm like, yes, I'm being pushed under the car. And he gets out and he's like, oh, sorry. He doesn't speak any English. So, and I don't speak any Cantonese or Mandarin. So anyway, he's trying to blame me. He says, oh, you came so fast. I'm like, no, you weren't even looking. I saw exactly what happened. I was going very slow off the corner. There's no way. This is my, I was going through a whole conversation with him. No, dude, you weren't even looking. And I got angry. I called him a fucking idiot, and then I backed off that. Like, listen, I didn't really even know, sort of, I was trying to assess what happened to myself. I hurt myself, hurt my shoulder, my knee, other areas, but it's just got pretty banged up, falling down. But didn't break anything. Didn't have any. There's no serious scrapes of any blood loss, so like other incidents. So it's like, okay, quickly assess myself and check out and everything. I'm like, okay, it's not too bad. And so, I can get up and walk, so I'm okay. So I don't want to make a big deal of it. But now, and so he's trying to get me to agree that I'm not going to sue him. And because I said, yeah, I'm not. I'm fine. I can get up and go. And because this motorcycle guy's going, are you okay? Do you want to do something? You want to call the police? I'm like, no. I didn't want to go through all of that, in that moment. That's what I decided. But as I'm sitting here now, not a but. I am sitting here now and wondering if I dealt with it properly. Not that I would want to try to, just rake somebody over the coals. Like, it was a driver's mistake. I would absolutely admit fault if I was careless in any way whatsoever. But I was being so careful. Like I said, about 10, 15 seconds before this happened, I was literally saying it out loud. So I'm wondering, did I actually manifest this? What's going on? I was saying, I don't want to get in an accident. I'm really concerned. So anyway, I am really sore. My knee is fucked up. My hands, wrists, whatever, soreness, back, everything is just being thrown to the ground. And just not being in the greatest shape right now. So recovering from certain things. And I just, as well as kind of, spoken of just having to move about 3 weeks ago. So the physicality of that, and as well the drama. I was dealing with my ex, dealing with the movers. And I did say, publicly, openly, that it went really smoothly. The guy's really great, blah, blah, blah. But there was a dark side to it. There was a real dark side to it. And I don't want to be bad mouthing people, but it was quite traumatizing the way that it played out. And I was forced to do things like last minute by my ex and stuff like that. So I was put into like really, really uncomfortable situation. And like told, no, you can't have that. No, you can't keep that. No, you can't keep that. So like, I was things I needed. And so I moved here and I'm like missing stuff. I'm like things I was forced to give away or throw away. And in the last minute, because he didn't want to pay for the movers to do X, Y, and Z. So it's like just, so this kind of a traumatic experience, and it was stressful. It's moving is fucking stressful. So anyway, I don't know why I'm trying to be so defensive about that, feeling bad about it. But anyway, I'm trying to stay positive about all this kind of stuff because it is stressful enough that I don't want to because I don't want to put myself into that mindset, because it was just really difficult. This was a really difficult one, and everything surrounding it and being this new area and all this kind of stuff. So anyway, so then this accident happens. So now I'm sitting here, and my plans to try to still do whatever I do need to do day to day are now sort of put on hold again, and I'm really frustrated by that. Mostly like due to I want to try to heal my body with what I was going through, with what it deals with. Not to go into a whole list of stuff. Just I'm in the healing, rebuilding phase, and then I just have this stuff happen like this, and I get, I'm not questioning God's timing per se, but I mean, is it so wrong for me to feel just so fucking frustrated right now? It's like it's very uncomfortable how frustrated I feel, and I'm not questioning why it happened. I'm just pissed off that it did, and I did everything I could to avoid it. I did everything I believe in the right way to try to maneuver myself in the safest way possible. And yeah, I get it. Accidents just can't always be avoided, They wouldn't be called accidents, right? So, but I'm grateful. I feel a gratitude that, there's a reason why the timing happened the way it did. There always is. There's always something behind it there's always something very important that might not be evident at the moment or even right now, but in time might become clearer. But not that I'm needing to have that, but just sort of the process of, like, I'm kind of regretting, like, maybe I should have called the police. Maybe I should have, because the guy was clearly at fault. I could have got a financial payout, which I'm completely fucking broke. Like, completely broke. And it's really been difficult to maneuver through that and being able to just take care of myself and feed myself and, pay my phone bill. Yes, luckily I have the financial aid of my rent being paid, because I'm going through a divorce, and still it's like a slow motion car crash of this divorce that's gone on. The process is just dragged out for various reasons. So it's not something where I could just get some settlement and walk away. And, we cut the cord there, clearly and cleanly, if you will. So I have that, so I'm grateful for that. Yet I'm not able to work. So just this process of everything seems really difficult. And yeah, so my frustration is an issue at the moment. I'm trying my best to read my Bible, praying and meditating, and going to do things that at the moment I can't even go walk. So, but it's something I know this too shall pass. I know that. So it's another healing phase that I have to go through. But yeah, so I don't really know if I'm just venting here, or I am asking, like, I guess how, yeah, if this is, if I'm not, do I need to have somebody to blame here, or like somebody was at fault, and if I would have gone the route of getting the police involved and taking this guy to court and all of that stuff, like, is it really worth it? Like, yes, I'm injured. Yes, my life has been put, sort of, whatever, has been affected by it negatively, if you will, not positively. So should I be compensated for that? I mean, I don't really feel like I have a right to, like, I'm not, this guy, they work so hard, and they make so little, at what they do. And they're like, taxis are very, very cheap here. Like I think on, maybe some cheapest prices in the world for such a city that it is. So it's always been such a benefit to myself. It's just, and they just work so hard and they make so little. And there's not something I would ever want to be taking from someone, just for principle's sake, So I'm not regretting, not doing it, but I'm just kind of thinking, well, maybe I should have asked for some compensation of some kind, got his number. I didn't even take any photos. I couldn't even jump up and take any photos. He took photos of me. He's demanded to take photos of me. I'm like, no, I don't want you taking photos of me. And the motorcycle guy's like, oh, just let him. He's like, I'm not trying to get in the middle here. I just don't want this to escalate. I'm like, well, I clearly was not in fault. If I was at fault, I would say so. But, I'm the one injured. He's not injured. Nothing happened to him. Nothing happened to his car. And luckily, nothing happened to my bike. So it looked like it was going to be completely fucked because the way that it was tangled underneath the taxi, but it was okay. So it's not, luckily it's not anything fancy or nothing. So, but it's not anything great either. And it's all that I have. So I was very upset that I lost my means of transportation. It's not that I can't walk, but I do have physical issues, and walking is very difficult. Carrying heavy amounts of fruit and vegetables in this terrain is up and down hills is very difficult for myself. Anyway, so I was really, really upset that my bike was going to be damaged in some way. Anyway, but it wasn't. So yeah, so I just feel like, I'm not quite sure how I feel. A little confused about it. Sort of having to reconfigure everything once again and start another healing process again. And yeah, so that's my share. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Tracy. And we definitely feel for you there. I am just very grateful that you're okay. And, aside from, you said you're sore, probably banged up pretty good, but I'm just glad that you're okay. I'm glad that you made it through that, and that you're still finding laughter in it too. Of just it is kind of, at least that's what I often go to when things don't make any real sense, is just laughing at them. Having that experience, and then moments later having a taxi run into you. It's
I know. Can I just say something? I feel like I've
sure.
fucking become like a crazy meme. My own meme of green for go, because it was a green taxi. The taxi is painted green. I've never taken a green taxi before. They're only to this area out here. They're very specific to this region, and I've never been out here before. So they're green taxis. So I was like, oh, I wish I knew how to make a meme just for my friends to laugh at and for me to laugh at. Yeah, because you're right. Going to laughter helps for sure.
Yeah, and you do have that gift of bringing laughter into all spaces, and so for that, that's you're continually refining those skills even through these experiences. So that's certainly something. But yeah, we can spend all day trying to figure out why something happened, and just analyze it to death, and it's not often helpful to stay on it too long, but just to give the signal to the divine that we're open and ready for an answer if we are ready for it. But sometimes we're not ready for an answer, or the answer is not ready for us. So just being content with that. And then what else? Oh, the like what if game. It's a horrible game to play. What if, should I have done this, or should I have done that? What if I'd done that? In regards to what happened, just personally, like having gone through that accident I went through recently, and those questions come up a lot. I'm like, what if I had been there, or should I have done this, and I could have avoided that? And it never goes anywhere. It never helps with anything, and I'm not saying to but just to note that it's happened. It's that part's finished. So it happened exactly as it needed to. And we can't shift it. So just to offer that, even though I know it's hard, and again, speaking from experience, don't use that as a platform to beat yourself up for doing it. Just being gentle through the whole process. But I can relate with that quite a lot, of having gone through many experiences in my life, but certainly that one most recently. And just know that we're with you. We're with you as you go through this, and we appreciate your shares and your candor, and just being very transparent about it all. It's helpful for us to hear and go through. And I don't have a whole lot more to share on that topic, but just thank you for sharing. Angela Gipple in the chat, she says, I feel for you and the after effects you are experiencing, and thanks for sharing about your frustration. I've had some of this too during the 7-month healing journey I'm on. Love you. Just being honest about the frustrations, and knowing that that's okay. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to have all of these feelings. It's part of this beautiful experience that we have, even though those colors in the color wheel might not be as fun for us to paint with at times. We still need those colors on the palette so that they show up in the right way and give us the full picture, the full painting. So just again, thank you for that. And I see Leah raised your hand. Did you want to jump in there?
Hi, Justin. Hi, everyone. I wasn't sure because my phone cut out and I had to rejoin if you were talking to me.
Oh, yeah. I was just seeing if you wanted to jump in. I saw your hand raised. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Justin. Tracy, you never seem to amaze me how resilient, how strong you are. You give me courage to get through what I'm going through. You're just so powerful. Like, I just love it. I just love it. I'm sort of in the wars too. I'm getting all these physical ailments attack me at the moment as well. I'm trying to work out, the reason why it's happening. Like Justin was saying as well, and we don't want to get bogged down with that. But wow, Tracy, you just give me inspiration to just keep going, because I'm also going through. I've got to obviously find a place to live, and I'm going through a lot with my family. Just really struggling with the fact that they can't see me. They can't see what I'm really about, and I'm feeling very frustrated, very angry. I just want to just abandon them, not be around them, because it's really, really tough, especially my youngest brother. He's really, really difficult to deal with. He's very, very dark, very intense, very, I don't even know, I even feel bad talking about this and sharing this, that I'm sort of doing, speaking against him. But he's really, really lost in this darkness, and his energy is so heavy and dense, and I can't be around it, and can't even have an open conversation where we can just be ourselves and express ourselves honestly and openly. But anyway, I just wanted to just get on and say that, you just inspire me and give me so much courage. I'm also going through a lot of financial stuff, trying to make all these opportunities work, and nothing's happening, and all these people are struggling as well, and some of them are really nasty and vicious, and want to tackle these people that are just trying to do the right thing and help us grow our wealth, so we can at least get through these difficult times until some sort of a reprieve. And I know we've got to save ourselves. Yeah, but I'm sort of like struggling to sort of express what's going on, and but I just want to really say to everyone, I really appreciate having the space to be able to express all this and bounce it off everybody. So thank you, and I'll hand it back to Justin.
Thanks, Leah. Thanks for jumping in. And yeah, sometimes just to sharing it is what we're being guided to do, so that we don't feel so alone in this process. And I know I'm very grateful for that, and to have other stories and experiences to relate with, so that while we are walking this path alone, we're not walking it alone. We're walking it together. And yeah, so I appreciate it very much for that, and agree very, very much so that I appreciate Tracy's shares for that, as I know many others do as well. So thanks for jumping in, Leah, and sharing, what you're going through. And yeah, just that process. It's a balance, right? Of like having the healthy boundary around our peace and what we're going through and within our relationships, and but also not abandoning, not neglecting, not throwing away. So sometimes stepping away is the right thing to do, to preserve that purity within us and that peace within us, because nothing is worth losing that. And then having that, or at least for me, what's helpful is to know that I'm not abandoning anyone by doing that. In fact, I'm establishing myself to be able to help whenever they're ready, and I can't force anyone to be ready for that. And it might not even be in this lifetime, right? To let go of that idea or that plan that it has to be a certain way or in a certain timeline, but just to be open and truly let the divine lead in that. It's not easy. It's certainly not easy. It's very, very easy to talk about, but it's very challenging to do and to embody. So yeah, I too am grateful for spaces like this where we can share and go through that. And no matter how many times we talk about a particular thing or go over it, it's always relevant. It's always important, because it's stuff that we do and go through every day, in different ways all over the place. So yeah, thanks for sharing, and thanks for jumping in on that. And yeah, just there was a question that I saw in the chat that I forgot to cover, and this might be a good way to kind of encapsulate this. And this was from KF, and asked, what are some simple ways to align our heart chakra and other chakras that we can apply to our everyday hectic 9-to-5 lives? So yeah, it's a great question. And Darth, I'm not sure if you're there at the moment. I see him, he's wandering around doing stuff, but didn't know if you had anything in particular as far as exercises or areas of focus within that to cover, or if you're even hearing me right now. But one thing that I like to do, especially in my meditations, and even if I just have a moment or whatever, just to kind of envision the pranayama, which is essentially cycling the breath through the various chakras to cleanse them. And there are a few different ways that you can do this. You can research, look up pranayama and find various methods and techniques. And but essentially they are just aligning the breath with the chakra highway and using that as a cleansing sort of way, so that as I'm breathing energy into the root, and I'm bringing that energy up to the crown, and then I'm bringing that energy from the crown back to the root. And so completing that cycle, and then you go through each one. So from the sacrum to the crown, from the solar plexus to the crown, the heart to the crown, the throat to the crown, the third eye to the crown. And then you come back down and do it the opposite direction. And you can really kind of pair these in various formations and find what feels best for you. But just having that intention and that focus on these areas and bringing the breath and bringing the energy into these spaces can be really helpful of, cleansing and clearing those wheels, because they essentially are like water wheels. And there was a great, I don't have it right handy, but there's a great clip you can find of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is a cartoon show that goes over all 7 of the chakras. It really describes them quite well. So if you want a simple reference to that, I'd recommend looking up on YouTube, just The Last Airbender chakra explanation or something like that. And it should pop up. And that having a deeper understanding about which chakras, what they do, then we can kind of like look into our lives and see areas that we can focus on more so. So just having the awareness of what they do and what they represent is very helpful as well. But yeah, Darth, I didn't know do you have any other suggestions on exercises or things to align chakras?
Can I come in? Is that allowed?
Yeah.
All right. So things that we can do to strengthen the heart chakra or the love chakra. So if you want to receive something, give it. So you can, hold on, let me turn off there you go. Let me just hang up on that. There we go. Okay. So you can engage in charitable works toward others, especially toward people that have no way of giving it back materially, because we live in a universe of perfect justice. And so if you're unable to receive the reward materially, then the universe has to make sure that you receive it spiritually. And since your destination is always your origin, if you start with love, then you have to end at love. So the best way to receive love would be to give it. So that's the moralistic way that you can activate your heart chakra. The other way that you can do it is to sit in any comfortable pose and to breathe deeply and regularly while paying attention to your heartbeat or to the area around your heart, because wherever you give attention to, that is strengthened. And there's no real way to give negative attention to your heart. So as long as you're calm and you're at peace and you're focusing on your heart and breathing deeply, you may start to feel a warmth or a tingling in your chest area. And then, okay, that's a little annoying. Hold on, let me turn that off. There you go. And then during the breathing exercises, you can, so there's 3 points of the breath. There is the low point when your lungs are empty, the middle point, and then the high point when your lungs are completely full. So while practicing your breathing and giving your attention to your heart, you can hold your lungs completely empty and see how that feels to your heart. You can do that several times. You can go to the midpoint where your lungs are completely relaxed and you're not empty and you're not full, but you're at the midway point, and then try to hold that point for as long as possible and see how your heart feels. Feel how the energy moves. And then you can do the same thing, but with your lungs completely full. And this will stimulate the heart energy chakra to start to move. And the more attention you give to it, and the more often you move the breath across it, It's like a wheelbarrow rut. It starts to get deeper and deeper. And even if you only have a little bit of power, even if you only have a little drip of energy, and that's all you got, a drip, if persisted, can work its way right through a concrete slab or through steel. And once that steel or that concrete, that dam is broken, then the energy will start to flow through it more forcefully. And if that's love energy, then it will heal, and it will cleanse, and it will purify, and you can't really go wrong with love. Rose quartz. If you want to stimulate that energy, you can acquire rose quartz, because that's the proper frequency for your heart chakra. You can also carry a notebook and always document how it is that you feel. How do you feel when you say things to other people? What was it you said? What was the environment? What was the circumstances? What did they say to you, and how did that make you feel? Document your emotions. Give attention to your emotions so that they can flow. There are some people that they've escaped a high control religious group or a cult, and they're so emotionally numb that the psychiatrists will actually have them carry flashcards with various emotions on them. That's how disconnected they are from their own heart chakra. They can't even feel their own emotions, right? And so they have to learn to grow that heart chakra. It's like a muscle. So talking about moving energy. So before we were talking about being comfortable and stationary in breathing, but you can also walk. And when you walk and move, with every step, pay attention to your heart chakra and the motion of cutting across the energy pathways of the earth and cutting across the magnetic spiritual energy ley lines of the earth. That can charge. That's one way of charging your heart chakra too. And then also with your hands, moving your hands slowly and rhythmically across your heart chakra area. So the way you would do it was as you breathe in and out. So as you breathe in, with palm up, you're going to kind of like move that up across the area in front of your chest. And then when you breathe down, turn your hand and breathe that down. And you're kind of like a wave in front of your hand, in front of your heart chakra. And then you can do it also side to side. So you're kind of like, because your hand has one energy line and your heart chakra has another. And so when your hand is cutting across the energy field around your heart, it's stimulating it. So this is all about stimulation of energy. So the spiritual way would be to show it. The mental way would be to document it. And then you can also say you can just Google it, heart affirmation, heart chakra affirmations. So it would be something like, I am allowing my heart chakra to open. And you just say that repeatedly. I am consenting to my heart chakra to open. I am consenting to the energy of love. I am allowing the energy of love. I am the energy of love. The heart chakra remembers me, and I remember my heart chakra. I remember my love. Love remembers me. And you say these things over and over. And because words create reality, then the construct will have to yield. And it might argue with you for a while and wants to know if you're sincere. You might have to overcome your past momentum, especially if you said if you have a bad habit, or in the past you've had the bad habit of saying negative things about your heart. You might have to overcome that momentum. Maybe not. Don't assume that. Maybe your heart chakra is just waiting for you to make that decision, and you say it a few times and you make a complete turnaround. Some of us are more nimble than others, but whatever the case, persist and allowing love to flow through your heart. You're causing love to flow through your heart chakra. And then we talked about moving, and then also stretching. So any stretch where you're stretching backwards, and your arms are wide, and toward the back, and you're stretching, bowing out backwards as far as you can. That opens up the muscles, that opens up the linkages between your rib cages, and that opens up that energy. People that have a closed heart chakra and they've been wounded, a lot of times they're hunched over. Why are they hunched over? Because they're cradling their heart, they're protecting their heart, they're guarding their heart, they're hugging it, right? Because they're afraid. And then if that's the case, if you find that you have that bad habit of poor posture and you're often guarding your heart chakra, well, then that's the time. I am choosing to open up. I am choosing to have faith. I am choosing to heal. I'm choosing to forgive others. I am allowing myself to forgive myself. I'm allowing my heart to heal. And these sorts of affirmations, while you breathe deeply and while you stretch and arch your back backwards with your arms wide open and just kind of like move side to side and let that energy center in your chest open up. So really, there's many different methodologies. Some may work better than others for different people. So it's not just an objective experience. There's some subjectivity to it. So it's going to vary from individual to individual. But the most important thing is to make the choice and to express the intention, to actually say it. This is my intention. And then you can also breathe deeply 3 times. Okay. And then focus your thoughts and then lift your chin up and say, I am asking spirit to open up my heart chakra. You can ask for help. Okay. You can ask Mother Earth. You can ask Father Heaven. Help me open my heart chakra. Protect me while I open my heart chakra. Surround me with the force of love. Grow my heart chakra. These sorts of things so that you're not alone. Because you're never alone. The earth is always with you. Father Time is always with you. Your absolute highest self is always there. The higher spirits like wisdom, self-control, power, justice, empathy, compassion, these are real entities and they're always part of who you are. They're always around you. They're helping you even when you're not aware of it. And they always hear you. And you might not be able to see them, but they are there. And so you can ask them for help. Especially if you feel like, oh, I'm not very empathetic. So you can ask empathy. I need empathy in my heart chakra. These sorts of statements. And take notes of what sort of person you are, what sort of person you want to become. Take notes of where you are emotionally and where you want to go emotionally. And just make the choice and do something, anything. Because even if you're doing it wrong, the power of love from the other side of the veil, if it hears your intention and it sees that you're sincere, then it will correct for any mistakes that you're making. So an improper technique, well, there isn't really an improper technique. I mean, some are better than others, but what's more important is to be sincere, good faith, intention, don't give up, and then love. Your heart chakra from inside itself will correct any mistakes you're making and then make sure that you're successful. And then, of course, always operate the heart chakra in conjunction with the root chakra, I am. So always pay attention to your I am statements and then connect them to I feel statements. And then those 2 chakras will work together. And they'll be even more effective than if the heart chakra is working by itself. So the I am and then the I feel. And then you can also bring in the power chakra, which is I do. So what are you doing about your heart chakra? Okay. And then the intention would be the I will chakra. This is my intention. I will open my heart chakra. I will allow love to flow through my heart chakra. And then you can even bring in your throat chakra. I am speaking love, right? Then you can bring in your wisdom or your eyes chakra. I see love inside myself. I see love all around me. I see that mama dog showing love toward the puppy dogs, I see my marriage mate being loving to me. I see that she's trying. I see my best friend is loyal. And then you can bring in the crown chakra. That's the I know chakra. I know love, and love knows me. So you through these speeches and through these affirmations, you tie all 7 chakras to the heart chakra, and every power multiplies all the other chakras. And there really is no way to fail. And wherever you are in the journey of your heart chakra, that is exactly where you're supposed to be. No one is late. No one is failing. Everyone gets there, either in this life or the next, or in the next realm. Everyone is going to get there exactly when and where they're supposed to be. Love is watching us all, and it's the same love. So the outside of our heart chakras, well, we all have our own individual outside of the heart chakra, but when you go inside of it, we all have the same heart chakra. We're all connected. We appear to have different hearts, but that's just the vision. The actuality is that we all just have one heart, and we're just sharing it. It's one heart and many different people all at the same time, one energy. We're all connected. And so you can not only appeal to the other chakras, appeal to the higher aspects of yourself, but if there's 2 or other 3 people with you, then that multiplies the power. So the power of 2 is a real thing. The power of 3 is a real thing. The power of 12, the power of 13. Get 13 people together in a circle and have them all focus on their heart chakra at the same time. And really, you could do anything at that point. 13 people that know what they're doing and they're applying to the highest power of all, which is love. They could probably raise the dead. And it has been done before. And maybe in the future, we'll be doing that sort of thing. So there's no telling how far this power of love can take us.
Yeah, thanks for that. That was awesome. And just to add another thing that came up was we can practice by sending love. So in your stillness, when you're just with yourself, to practice sending love. And you might find it easiest to do towards someone that you love very much, like your child, or to those who don't have children, to your dog or your cat or whomever that you love so dearly. So in that moment, practice sending love to that individual, and then start to expand that, play with that, send love elsewhere, send love to people that you don't even like, but still send love to those spaces. Send love to the sun, to the moon, to the stars, to nature all around. And the more that you work on that emanating, and the easier it becomes to fall into that space of love, then you start to really, that one heart layer starts to make a lot more sense. You start to feel it. You become it. So that's a great way to practice as well. But yeah, these were great tips. Thanks again, Darth, for that. And yeah, I saw Rowan had your hand raised. Just a heads up, Rowan, we've got maybe 5-10 minutes or so. So just wanted to see if you wanted to jump in with anything before we wrap up. But yeah, glad you're here, brother.
Hey, thanks, Justin. Glad to be here. Yeah, with the short amount of time that we have. Thanks most of all, of course. Been awesome listening. Hopped on a bit late. But yeah, to make the most out of what we have here. We're all just doing our best, right? And we've all made certain, actions upon others to defend our own energy, right? It was because we had to. It was like a way of showing kindness to ourselves, and what that sometimes means is, being a little bit firm with others. And it's really hard to think about some of these people because we know that they're suffering from, whatever mental instabilities or poisonous, symptoms that are affecting their abilities to have a relationship with them. It's difficult to, I don't know. I feel like I am not supposed to run away from my problems, but I also don't want to be thinking about them all the time, and that's connected to people, and they're not my problems. That's what I mean, is I've detached from any misleading thoughts of, oh, these are things that have to do with me. It's entirely to do with them, and I keep having this voice in my head telling me to contact them, but that just seems like undoing all this work of, preserving my own self-respect. And, they don't reach out to say sorry, for example, to apologize. And it should never be, anyone like the one who had something done bad to them by another go chasing that person to get an apology, right? So it's very distracting. So I just wanted to ask to see what are some techniques that some of you might use to just pull yourself back into your present moment that you are always in, but where you're not distracted. Because I do all the stereotypical stuff, breathing exercises, working out and things, but sometimes you just can't shake it off, and you're tempted to use something like cannabis, or I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. So feel free, anyone who wants to hop on the mic, to prescribe, or not like a doctor, but tell me what you have maybe done that has helped. So thanks, you guys.
Well, there's not a one size fits all approach, because there's infinite reasons why you might be feeling the ways you are, and then infinite solutions to get us out of it. I would just say that sometimes we persistently have a feeling or a thought train about something, because the divine is calling us to action, calling us to move or to shift. And you mentioned, without knowing the details about what you got into, which we can certainly go into it in another show when we have more time, but just generally within relationships, it's all about alignment, right? So trusting the movement and the flow, and if there is misalignment, then it doesn't mean that by us moving away or shifting or transitioning or however, it doesn't mean that we're abandoning or neglecting or disregarding someone, but we're just recognizing the alignment and where that might shift us and how we can shift through that. So sometimes we continuously have these inspirations to make a movement like that. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do, because I don't know what all you're going through. And even if I did know all what you're going through, I still wouldn't know, because the divine is leading you in your unique way. So just to offer that there could be some more inspiration to move, and that's why you're not able to find peace through other means. But as you've mentioned, there are certainly other methods and means. I think cannabis is one of those things where, yeah, if we're using it consistently as a crutch, as an escape route, it's certainly not advantageous for us to do. However, it's also a plant here for a reason. And if that's an avenue to help us sometimes even find other solutions within things, I don't see that as a horrible choice to go for. But I get, you want to find other methods. And so just being open to the divine's leading in that, you'll find them. But yeah, without getting too much into detail here at the very end, maybe we can table this for another discussion and we can go deeper into it then. I did see Tom raised his hand, so maybe he has some input to add real quickly before we wrap up. Did you have something, Tom?
Yeah, hi, Justin and everybody, and especially Rowan. I recently had an incident where I almost cut the end of my finger off on my left thumb, and I had a good conversation with Ben about it, and we delved deep into the reasons why this may have happened and whatever, and we ended up getting to a point where I was holding on to certain feelings, and like deep in my ego, I was holding on to the idea of a relationship with someone that my higher consciousness knows I cannot be with. And I was on a route of like probably smoking too much cannabis, and every time I did, her name would just pop into my head, and I was just blocking it out, saying, "No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not interested in her anymore." But deep inside me, I actually was, and so I feel if someone's popping up, Rowan, you need to maybe meditate deep on what it is, because otherwise the universe will do something to you to make you think about it. Because, yeah, I nearly cut my thumb off. So I just thought I'd add that.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Great suggestion there. And yeah, I don't have really too much else to add right now. But like I said, we can go deeper into it next time if you'd like to, Rowan. I'll just pass it back to you and see if you have any closing comments before we wrap up today.
Yeah, I agree. It's best to wait because we could easily find ourselves going a little bit further than we think. So thank you very much. And yeah, we'll just pick it up next time and go from there. So thanks, everybody, and hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and see you in the next show. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate it. And thanks for the topic. That'll be great to get into. And thanks, Tom, for the suggestion there. And yeah, so let's go ahead and start wrapping up today. I'm going to close this out with 2 songs. I shared the lyrics to one song just to very briefly go over the lyrics to the second. Oops, not this one. Infinite. Let me pull up the right screen here. So the next song is going to be their most popular song, which is Ho Hey. So it starts out with chanting Ho Hey, and any type of chanting, mantra chanting or anything is very power invoking. So to add that to the list of things that Darth mentioned and ways to rectify and get clear on things, finding a chant or a mantra or an om or some singing or whatever to stimulate energy and power is great there too. So I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been sleeping here instead. I've been sleeping in my bed. So, yeah, trying to do it right. It's a lonely life on that straight and narrow. I've been sleeping here instead. I've been sleeping in my bed. Perhaps meditation. So show me family, all the blood that I will bleed. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong, but I can write a song. So in these states of not knowing, as we're talking about these various topics, but I can write a song. So to just be okay with the not knowing, be content with not having all the answers, and then just writing a song, as in doing the next thing, or, being open to wherever that leads us. So I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweetheart. I belong with you, you belong with me, you're my sweet. So could be a love song, or it could be talking about the divine. I belong with you, Christ. You belong with me, Christ. I don't think you're right for him. Look at what it might have been. If you took a bus to Chinatown, I'd be standing on Canal and Bowery, and she'd be standing next to me. So maybe this is examining the what ifs games. What if that had happened? What if I had done this? So maybe releasing that, we could see it that way. I belong with you, you belong with me. Love, we need it now. Let's hope for some, because we're bleeding out in this fallen state. And I belong with you, you're my sweet. So yeah, that's that song. It's very enjoyable and memorable, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And thanks everyone for being here today for another show. This was a great series of discussions and topics, and just want to appreciate everyone who brought something forward. And if you're just listening, thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time, whether it's here live or on the recording. Really appreciate you. So just sending love out to everybody. Hope everyone has a wonderful day wherever you are, and we'll keep on doing these. We'll have a watch party tomorrow night. Stay tuned for an announcement there, and yeah, everything else moving forward. So love you guys. Take care.